Developments tonight in the ongoing saga of Hacienda Healthcare. The state of Arizona is requiring pregnancy and STD tests of all of the patients there, as well as requiring an outside manager to come in and run the operation. Team 12's Bram Resnick is sorting through all of these new details tonight. Bram?
Arizona regulators today taking their most decisive action since the shocking news 2 weeks ago that a Hacienda patient in a vegetative state gave birth, and no one knew she was pregnant. We're also learning about 24 corrective actions that regulators ordered, including tests for sexually transmitted diseases.
Arizona regulators' crackdown on Hacienda Healthcare comes after they highlighted several significant concerns during numerous on-site visits. The regulators' conclusion: additional oversight is immediately warranted. Based on terms in Hacienda's contract, Arizona's Medicaid provider and the Department of Economic Security are ordering Hacienda to hire and pay for an outside manager to run the facility. Hacienda's longtime chief executive Bill Timmons resigned abruptly January 7th. That came just days after news reports that a 29-year-old patient in a vegetative state had apparently been raped and gave birth to a baby boy, without anyone at Hacienda knowing she was pregnant. We're now learning that the same day Timmons quit, regulators demanded 24 corrective actions. They include testing for sexually transmitted diseases on the more than 80 patients, almost all of them intellectually disabled; pregnancy testing for all female patients, with the option of more blood testing for hepatitis or HIV. And in a sign of lax security, Hacienda was told not to prop open entry doors and to install security cameras throughout the building. This isn't the first time Arizona regulators have clashed with Hacienda.
We made the decision to stop sending new clients to Hacienda.
Former Economic Security Director Tim Jeffries told 12 News his staffers alerted him to potential fraud when he took office 4 years ago. Jeffries was fired before he could cut off the flow of new patients. But the state later filed a lawsuit against Hacienda based on Jeffries' staffers' investigation, alleging more than $3 million in overbilling. And 2 weeks ago, regulators suspended all new admissions.
The state regulators gave Hacienda Healthcare till the end of the day Thursday to agree to hire an outside manager, and 1 week from today to make that hire. If Hacienda doesn't agree, the state is threatening to go to court. And Caribe Hacienda says its board of directors will respond in, quote, short order. The clock is ticking. Let's send it back to you.
All right. Thanks so much, Bram, for that update.